Good day from the International Space Station Flight Control Room here at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, where we are set for the first of 3 spacewalks over the next 17 days by members of the Expedition 59 crew to perform upgrades to the station's power systems and to provide redundancy for other vital communications and data hardware for the station in the years ahead. You're looking at the flight control room here in Mission Control in Houston, where the Orbit 2 team of flight controllers has just completed a handover from the Orbit 1 team that's been on console throughout the overnight hours, getting ready for the spacewalk that is imminent by NASA astronauts Ann McClain and Nick Hague. We'll get into the particulars of that spacewalk in a minute. Let's set the stage here at the Flight Director console. At the bottom of your screen is the Flight Director for today's spacewalk and the one a week from today, Mary Lawrence. She's been assigned to this team for over a year now, preparing for the spacewalk that will install new batteries for the station's power systems and other associated hardware. At the top of your screen, one of the spacecraft communicators you'll be hearing from is veteran astronaut Tracy Caldwell-Dyson, a veteran of 3 spacewalks herself in the years past. Caldwell-Dyson will be talking to the crew during the final stages of their suit-up activities prior to the time that they move into the outer compartment of the 2-compartment Quest airlock at the International Space Station to get ready to open the hatch and venture outside. At that point, Tracy Caldwell-Dyson will hand over communications chores to Thomas Pesquet, veteran astronaut from the European Space Agency, who back in January of 2017 joined Shane Kimbrough outside the International Space Station for an identical spacewalk to the one that will unfold in the hours ahead today, as Pesquet and Kimbrough replaced batteries and adapter plates on the starboard truss of the International Space Station. Back inside the Quest airlock, the crew is all suited up, ready to begin today's spacewalk activities. Again, on the right is astronaut Ann McClain, who arrived on the International Space Station back in December. She's been joined for suit-up activities by David Saint-Jacques of the Canadian Space Agency in the foreground, as well as Christina Cook, who launched just over a week ago on the Soyuz MS-12 spacecraft from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, with Nick Hague, who is on the left side of your screen. Hague and McClain both will be conducting the first spacewalks of their careers. Again, the first of 3 spacewalks to be conducted by the 4 so-called USOS, or U.S. Orbital Segment crew members comprising Expedition 59. McClain will be designated as EV1, or extravehicular crew member number 1 for today's spacewalk. She'll be wearing the suit bearing the red stripes. She'll be the 13th female to walk in space. A week from today, if all goes as planned, she'll be joined by Christina Cook outside for the second battery replacement spacewalk, the first time that 2 women will have conducted a spacewalk together in the history of human spaceflight. Nick Hague will be wearing the suit with no stripes. Again, he's on the left side of your screen. The crew was up early today, just after midnight Central Time, to begin preparing for the spacewalk. They have been involved in the breathing of pure oxygen to cleanse nitrogen out of their bloodstreams and prevent any condition known as decompression sickness or the bends from occurring when they step out into the vacuum of space a short time from now. Again, Christina Cook is in the foreground of this view inside the equipment lock. There are 2 sections to the Quest airlock: the equipment lock section where the crew suits up, and later on after the spacewalk where they doff their spacesuits. Just beyond them is the outermost section of the Quest airlock known as the crew lock. The 2 crew members soon will be assisted off of the side walls of the equipment lock. They will receive assistance in donning SAFER units, the simplified aid for EVA rescue units, the jet-powered backpacks that all spacewalkers wear in the unlikely event they would become untethered. They could propel themselves back to the safety of a space station structure. They will then be moved into the crew lock section. The hatch will be closed. Final suit checks will be made and communications checks will be conducted with the flight controllers here in Mission Control before they flip their suits onto battery power. That's the demarcation point for the start of U.S. EVAs. The elapsed time for a U.S. EVA is marked from the start of battery power on the suits to the time that the airlock is repressurized at the completion of the spacewalk.
For EV1, that's 1 minute. I still read 4.3.
As mentioned earlier, this is the first spacewalk for both Anne McClain and Nick Hague. They will be the 225th and 226th humans to walk in space. The spacewalk coming 54 years, 4 days after Alexei Leonov wrote his name into the history books, becoming the first human to walk in space on March 18th, 1965, in a 12-minute excursion outside the Voskhod 2 spacecraft, along with Pavel Belyayev, who launched into space with him at that time. This is the 214th spacewalk in support of ISS assembly, maintenance, and upgrades. And again, the upgrades we're talking about here all have to do with upgrading the power systems on the P4 or Port 4 truss of the International Space Station. The space station is powered by the huge solar arrays, of course, as it orbits the Earth every 90 minutes. There are 8 power channels in all, 4 power channels for the starboard side of the station, 4 power channels for the port side of the station. The solar arrays provide the power for station systems while the station orbits in daylight. At the same time, these huge batteries that have been used in the past, nickel hydrogen batteries, store the electricity so that they kick in to provide a seamless transition from solar array power to battery power when the station sails into an orbital sunset for that portion of each orbit of the Earth. The nickel hydrogen batteries are in the process of being replaced in 4 different sets. They're all carried up on Japanese H-2 transport vehicles, the Japanese Konotori cargo ships that fly to the International Space Station. As you see from this graphic, a total of 48 older nickel hydrogen batteries are being replaced with 24 new lithium-ion batteries. The 4 TV or H-2 transfer vehicle missions, each launching a half a dozen lithium-ion batteries and a half a dozen battery adapter plates on a pallet to replace a pair of nickel hydrogen batteries. The acronym BCDU, that's a battery charge discharge unit. That is the mechanism that actually enables the batteries to store electricity and then to expel electricity for powering of the station's systems when the station moves into an orbital sunset. Due to space limitations on the HTV's external pallet that carried the new batteries up to the station, only 9 of the 12 nickel hydrogen batteries that are being replaced during today's spacewalk and the one a week from today can be stowed permanently in that external pallet. 3 of the older batteries will be stored forever on the truss of the International Space Station.
The team is ready to support you guys, so we're watching.
As mentioned earlier, the first set of new lithium-ion batteries for the station were installed on the S4 truss for the 1A and 3A power channels of the International Space Station during a pair of spacewalks conducted by Peggy Whitson, Shane Kimbrough, and Thomas Pesquet back in January of 2017. The spacewalk today and the one a week from today by Anne McClain and Christina Cook will complete the installation of new lithium-ion batteries and associated battery adapter plates for the P4 truss. The next 2 sets of battery replacements will be more complicated because they will be taking place on the outboard truss segments of the station. Next up will be the replacement of batteries for the P6 truss, and then in 2020, the replacement of the S6 nickel-hydrogen batteries with lithium-ion batteries. Those will require even more spacewalks because the space station's robotic arm, the Canadarm2, cannot reach all the way out to the outboard truss segments of the station to be able to help with the replacement of the batteries. Earlier this week, the robotics team here in Mission Control, supported by the Canadian Space Agency's Customer Support Center in Saint-Hubert, Quebec, robotically relocated 4 of the old nickel-hydrogen batteries. One is currently parked on the Dexter robotic attachment, the special purpose dexterous manipulator, and 3 others were moved to the external pallet that is housed on a payload attachment device on the truss of the International Space Station for later disposal. In addition, the robotics team also robotically relocated 3 of the new lithium-ion batteries into their corresponding open slots on the so-called integrated electronics assembly, which is the guts of the electronics for each of the truss segments of the International Space Station. So today's work that lies ahead in this planned 6.5-hour spacewalk will be to move 3 adapter plates to which the old nickel hydrogen batteries will be mounted. These adapter plates will be moved from the external pallet slots that are housed in this payload attachment device on the truss of the International Space Station into empty slots on the integrated electronics assembly for the 4A channel at the base of the port 4 truss of the International Space Station. Then, in addition, 2 of the old nickel hydrogen batteries will be moved onto those adapter plates, and they will then stay on the International Space Station permanently, but will not be used in the future. The adapter plates themselves weigh 75 pounds. They're 40.4 by 36.8 by 7.9 inches in diameter, weighing 75 pounds. They serve 3 purposes. They are designed basically as a platform to compare the circuit, to complete the circuit pairings for the battery charge and discharge units, for the power transfer between the solar arrays and battery storage for the International Space Station. They protect the thermal conditioning for the integrated electronics assembly, and they serve as that stowage location for the old nickel hydrogen batteries. Again, the 12 batteries, the old nickel hydrogen batteries that are no longer needed, are being removed in place of the new lithium ion batteries, but the external pallet carried up on the Japanese cargo ship, the Kanatori 7, only has 9 slots for disposal later on. So 3 of these nickel hydrogen batteries have to be stowed on the ISS. They are stowed on the adapter plates to be installed by McLean and Haig during today's spacewalk.
Copy.
Once again, in this view, David Saint-Jacques of the Canadian Space Agency on your left, who will conduct his first spacewalk with Nick Hague on April 8th, unrelated to the battery work. They'll be involved in the routing of cables for redundant systems to the station's Canadarm2 robotic arm and doing other associated upgrades to communication systems in that third spacewalk in this triple EVA, as it is called. He'll be paired with Nick Hague for that spacewalk on April 8th. He and Christina Cook at the moment are affixing the simplified aid for EVA rescue jet-powered backpack to the extravehicular mobility unit, the spacesuit that Anne McLean is wearing before she will be moved into the crew lock section, the outermost section of the Quest airlock. On your left is Nick Hague, who is just biding his time at the moment. He also will receive a safer unit attached to his spacesuit, and then he'll be moved into the crew lock section before the hatch is closed for final preparations leading up to the final communications checks and suit systems checks with flight controllers here in Mission Control prior to the time that they are instructed to place their suits on internal battery power for the official start of today's spacewalk. The crew has been running slightly ahead of the timeline throughout the course of the overnight hours with all of their spacewalk preparations for today. So it would not surprise anyone if they begin the spacewalk earlier than the published start time of about 7:05 a.m. Central Time. The batteries that are being swapped out, along with the associated adapter plates in all of the robotics and spacewalking work that is taking place in today's activity and the one a week from today. Again, these new batteries, the new lithium-ion batteries, and their associated adapter plates were launched on the H-2 transfer vehicle, the HTV-7, from the Tanegashima Space Center in southern Japan back on September 22nd of last year. HTV-7 arrived at the International Space Station on September 27th. The external pallet, basically a cargo pallet that is housed on the side of each HTV vehicle, it was removed and placed on the truss of the International Space Station. These spacewalks were to have been conducted last fall during Expedition 56, but a number of operational activities unfolded to delay the spacewalks until this time frame and this crew for Expedition 59.
And Tracy to EV1, how do you hear?
One, did you hear EV calling?
And Station Houston, if you're calling us on Station Ground 1, we did copy EV1.
Did copy. Okay.
Good copy. I just wanted to, my suit P is at 3.7. I just wanted to make sure that that drop was expected from the leak check.
And that's expected.
And I'm showing 3.6.
Copy, thank you.
We copy.
We are in a handover between satellites on the tracking and data relay satellite system. We'll reacquire our downlink TV from the International Space Station shortly. Everything is going by the book with all of the pre-spacewalk preparations to send Anne McLean and Nick Hague out the door of the Quest airlock to begin this first spacewalk of 2019, the 214th spacewalk in support of space station assembly and maintenance.
Bye, Kathy.
And back inside the Quest airlock, if you're just joining us, Nick Hague, NASA astronaut, just 8 days into his first flight into space, having launched back in the wee hours Baikonur time of March 15th. On the left side of your screen, as David St. Jacques of the Canadian Space Agency and Christina Cook gently move Anne McLean into the crew lock section of Quest. Hague will join her there shortly. As you can see, McLean, as EV1 or extravehicular crew member number 1, is wearing the suit with the red stripes, no stripes on Nick Hague's suit. To give you a time reference, the front clock here in Mission Control showing a go for depressurization of the crew lock section of Quest about 15 minutes from now. That'll be after Nick Hague joins McLean inside the crew lock and they're properly positioned and the hatch is closed, separating David St. Jacques and Christina Cook from the two spacewalkers. The International Space Station is currently flying 248 statute miles over eastern China, moving from southwest to northeast in an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator.
So when you get in, we'll want to move that down toward my legs.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and when we get in, we'll pin the V-guide bag up over her legs so she's got a little bit more clearance behind her to open the hatch.
Throughout today's spacewalk, we'll be fielding questions periodically from those of you on social media. Using the hashtag AskNASA to submit your questions of interest. We have one from Johnny that says, will the old nickel hydrogen batteries be left to burn up on reentry? That should create quite a fireworks display. The 9 of the 12 old nickel hydrogen batteries that are in the process of being removed from the integrated electronics assembly on this spacewalk and the next spacewalk a week from today on the Port 4 truss of the International Space Station. 9 of those 12 will be reinserted into that external pallet that is currently housed on a payload attachment on the truss of the station. Later on this year, that external pallet will be inserted back into an HTV vehicle, a Japanese cargo ship, in lieu of a new set of batteries that will be brought on board the station by the next Japanese cargo ship. And when the HTV is deorbited to burn up over the Pacific Ocean, so will 9 of those 12 nickel hydrogen batteries. The other 3, again, there's not enough room on that external pallet that burns up upon reentry on an HTV vehicle, but 9 of the 12 will burn up. The other 3 are permanently stowed for posterity on the International Space Station.
Sounds good. Free.
St. Jacques and Cook now attaching the simplified aid for EVA rescue jetpack equipment to the spacesuit of Nick Hague. Already inside the crew lock, you can see in the background there is Anne McLean wearing the suit with the red stripes. She's all set to go, soon to be joined by Hague. Once Hague is moved into the crew lock, that hatch will be closed, and the two spacewalkers will complete final preparations before switching their suits to internal battery power after the crew lock section is fully depressurized. Here at the Spacewalk or EVA console, Jacqueline Kagi is the spacewalk officer for today's spacewalk and the one that will be conducted 1 week from today. She is the second from the bottom of your screen. She has been working in the preparation of the choreography for this spacewalk for over a year with the lead flight director, Mary Lawrence, who will be on console throughout the course of the day today, as she will 1 week from today.
Okay. Good access.
While we watch Nick Hague prepare to be moved inside the crew lock section of the Quest airlock by David St. Jacques and Christina Cook, another question coming at us on social media. How long can crew members be out on a spacewalk? Typically, spacewalks are timed for about 6.5 hours in duration, with some margin based on the consumables that they have in their extravehicular mobility units for breathable oxygen and water to keep their liquid cooling garments at comfortable temperatures. The longest spacewalk in history was 8 hours 56 minutes on March 11th, 2001 by Jim Voss and Susan Helms on STS-102, one of the early assembly missions for the International Space Station.
LED for 2.
And I have a green LED on my WVS. Copy. V1, Hatfield Drive.
Yep, 2 half dry.
We copy.
Toward the hatch?
Toward the hatch? My tools are touching the hatch.
Okay.
Nick Hague now inside the crew lock section of Quest, being moved into the right position in the cramped quarters of the crew lock by Christina Cook and David St. Jacques. The Quest airlock has been the venerable place for U.S. spacewalks to take place out of since July of 2001, when it was launched aboard the Space Shuttle Atlantis on the STS-104 mission as one of the critical components in space station assembly.
I've got enough head clearance, I can reach the whole UIA, so that's good, and then I'll be able to cheat a little bit more port for you, Ann, when we open the hatch.
Okay, yeah, so I'll need to cheat a little port just to get it open, but we can make those adjustments.
That V-guide bag, is that over Ann's legs, or is it over her fliff? Yeah.
Okay, let's move the V-guide back down to my legs.
Yeah,
I will.
and two's got clearance.
Can you see that back down there?
I'm still looking. The V-guide bag is over Ann's legs. We'd like to. Yeah, let's move it towards her legs.
We want to go as far forward as we can.
That'll give her clearance to open the hatch. Thanks. Copy.
Juncker.
David St. Jacques trying to make both Haig and McLean a bit more comfortable as they're wedged up against each other in the cramped confines of the crew lock section of the Quest airlock. Just a few moments from now, that hatch will be closed to separate the two spacewalkers from St. Jacques and Christina Cook, who have assisted the crew throughout the past several hours in suiting up and conducting their pre-breathe of pure oxygen to cleanse the nitrogen out of their bloodstreams to prevent any condition known as decompression sickness from occurring once McLean and Haig step out into the void of space a short time from now. The flight control team here at Mission Control in Houston has given a go for the depressurization of the crew lock. Once we get to that point, all systems are operating normally. We have two good spacesuits, and everything is in preparedness for the start of this 214th spacewalk in support of space station assembly and maintenance.
Next way center is on the airlock ring extender. And I do see it locked black on black.
I see the anchor hook lock black on black. And the waist hook lock black on black. Okay. Okay, that's great. Thank you.
And David, you can see the attachment here on my right wing center.
is closed.
Station 1 from the Airlock. With your concurrence, will defer step 63 to after Egress.
And David, we agree. Defer step 63 and sub post depress.
Okay, deferring step 63.
Say again, David. It's hard to hear over the hot mic.
Deep com check. Can you hear me over the hot mic?
Yeah, that's better.
I should speak more loudly.
Here in Mission Control, veteran astronauts Tracy Caldwell Dyson on the right side of your screen, a veteran of 3 spacewalks herself. She's talking to the crew in the Quest airlock as we prepare for the spacewalk. Once the hatch is closed and the depressurization of the crew lock section of Quest is underway, she'll be handing over spacecraft communications duties to European Space Agency astronaut Thomas Pesquet on the left side of your screen, who will be the so-called intravehicular or spacewalk choreographer, running down all the procedures step by step with McLean and Haig as they conduct their work outside of the International Space Station along the Port 4 truss of the complex throughout the course of this planned 6.5-hour spacewalk. Once again, today's spacewalk and the one to be conducted by Anne McLean and Christina Cook 1 week from today is designed to continue the upgrade of the station's power systems through the methodical replacement of old, aging nickel-hydrogen batteries with newer, more powerful lithium-ion batteries. Each pair of nickel-hydrogen batteries is being replaced for the 8 power channels on the International Space Station by a single lithium-ion battery and a corresponding adapter plate. "24 batteries in 2 sets of 12 were mounted at the base of the 2 solar array wings on the starboard side of the station's main truss, 2 sets of 12 on the port side. And so we are in the process at the midpoint, if you will, of replacing all 48 of the old nickel-hydrogen batteries with these smaller, more efficient lithium-ion batteries that are in the process and have been carried up to the station on Japanese HTV cargo ships. And the hatch is now being closed by David St. Jacques, isolating the two spacewalkers, Anne McLean and Nick Hague, from them. They are in the equipment lock section, the outermost section of the two-section Quest airlock. The two spacewalkers now by themselves inside the crew lock as we prepare for the start of the depressurization of that section of the International Space Station in advance of the crew placing their suits on internal battery power to mark the official start of today's spacewalk. The International Space Station is currently flying just to the west of Baja California, moving from northwest to southeast in an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator. Station systems operating to perfection. While we have a moment, a couple of additional questions coming into us on hashtag Ask NASA from social media circles. Katie asking, what kind of training did astronauts McLean and Hague complete to be ready for their spacewalk? Each astronaut that flies to the International Space Station completes about 2 years of overall training, essentially training that includes both generic training on station systems and more specific training on the types of spacewalks they are likely to encounter during the course of their increments on board the International Space Station. Emma then asks, how long is the communication delay between mission control and the space station? There is no delay. It's instantaneous through the wonder of the tracking and data relay satellite system, this network of orbiting communications satellites that orbit 24,000 miles above the Earth to form an almost continuous communications link between the International Space Station and other orbiting satellites and spacecraft. Once again, back following a short handover between communications satellites. So you're looking at David St. Jacques of the Canadian Space Agency on your right, Christina Cook, NASA flight engineer, on your left. The hatch closed between them and Nick Hague and Anne McLean, who are behind that hatch in the crew lock section of the Quest airlock, preparing for the start of the depressurization of the crew lock section that will set the stage for the start of today's spacewalk, the 214th, in support of space station assembly and maintenance. Just to recap, the work to be conducted outside today by McLean and Nick Hague.
73. We also took UHF out of public call 5, and so you have a go to complete your step 74, and you have the go in 76.
With that. And Nick, this is Ivy. How copy?
I've got you loud and clear.
I got you loud and clear.
Loud and clear. All right, for you, Nick, on the UIA, check that the depress pump power is off, OFF.
Depress pump is off, OFF.
Check that the depress pump enabled LED is on, ON.
Depress pump enable LED is lit.
Let's moving on to the cue card. I don't know if you heard my reminders previously. I'll repeat them otherwise.
Did not hear them.
Must have happened during the com reconfig. Right. So drink during depress to prevent the IDD overpress and leak.
Copy.
Expect to hear the depress pump and chatter from the TPRV during depress.
Copy.
Copy.
You can mark your DCM for airlock pressure, but do not toggle the status switch during the depress to prevent inadvertent switch throws.
Copy.
Copy.
These preparatory instructions from St. Jacques in advance of the actual start of the depressurization of the airlock, which should begin momentarily.
Proceed to the crew lock depress.
You have a go.
Up you go. All right, Nick, on the UIA, switch the depress pump power to on, ON, and wait 10 seconds for complete startup.
Depress pump power is on.
Nick, the depress action, depress pump man isolation valve open. TV expect alert tone.
Copy. Depress pump man ISO valve
CP
is
gauge
open.
below 5.5.
Copy.
Monitor if below 5.5. If it goes above 5.5, stop the depress.
You copies.
And the depressurization of the crew lock section of Quest now underway. This will be done in a two-step fashion. First down to about 5 pounds of pressure per square inch inside the airlock, where we will pause to allow a systems check, both for the flight control team here in Houston and the crew aboard the International Space Station before the depressurization is resumed back down to vacuum.
Heads up, when the crew lock is at 6, expect an alert tone.
1 copy.
2 copies.
And Nick, heads up, when the crew lock is at 5, you're gonna switch the depress pump man isolation valve to closed, only when it's at 5.
Copy at 5. Current pressure 11.9.
The depressurization of the Quest Airlock's crew lock section underway. Started at 6:26 a.m. Central Time. To recap the work that lies ahead outside for Anne McLean and Nick Hague today, they'll be working on the 4A power channel on the Port 4 truss of the International Space Station. Earlier in the week, the robotics team and mission control and at the Canadian Space Agency in Saint-Hubert, Quebec, used the station's robotic arm to relocate 4 old nickel hydrogen batteries from the integrated electronics assembly for the 4A channel at the base of that solar array wing. One of those old batteries now parked on the special purpose dexterous manipulator, or Dexter, for later disposal. 3 of the other nickel hydrogen batteries were moved from the external pallet on the H2 transfer vehicle for later disposal. And 3 new lithium-ion batteries were robotically relocated into their resulting open slots in the integrated electronics assembly. The work today outside will involve the movement of 3 adapter plates. These adapter plates are designed to serve as platforms to complete the circuitry for the battery charge discharge unit that stores and disposes electricity for the solar array wings during daylight and dark passes of the Earth. It also serves as thermal protection for the integrated electronics assembly and a stowage location for the old nickel hydrogen batteries that cannot be brought home on the HTV's external pallet because of space limitations. Only 9 of the 12 old nickel hydrogen batteries to be relocated in today's spacewalk and the one a week from today, and the associated robotics work. Only 9 of those 12 older batteries can return to Earth to burn up in the Earth's atmosphere. In addition to the movement of 3 adapter plates to their respective locations in the 4A power channels integrated electronics assembly, there will be the relocation of 2 of the old nickel hydrogen batteries from the integrated electronics assembly to be placed on the adapter plates that are being transferred as well. Those batteries will stay on the International Space Station forever.
And PV's reminder, when crew lock at 6, expect alert tone. Nick, reminder, when crew lock is 5, you're going to switch off the pump. You're going to, switch the depress pump valve to close.
1 copy.
And 2 copies. I'm showing current pressure 7.6.
Copy 7.6. Nick, heads up, should be approaching 6.
Showing 5.9.
Copy. Did you get a tone?
Negative.
Copy, negative. And did you get a tone?
EV1 is going back and forth between Airlock T and O2 position, and I just get a beep every time it changes.
Copy that. Reminder, Nick, at 5, you're going to take the depress pump man isolation valve to close at airlock pressure 5.0.
Copy.
And Nick, should be approaching 5.
Copy. Here's 5. And ISO valve is closed.
Copy, man ISO valve closed. Both EVs. Now we're moving on to a leak check. So take display status until leak check question mark is displayed, and then yes for 2 seconds, and follow instructions for the leak check.
EV1 copies, and EV1 is in leak check.
Copy, EV1 leak check.
Is in leak check.
Leak check, copy.
This is Mission Control Houston. We've taken a brief pause in the depressurization of the crew lock section of the Quest airlock at 5 pounds per square inch of pressure. The depressurization will resume momentarily down to vacuum as the precursor to Anne McLean and Nick Hague placing their suits on internal battery power to mark the official start of today's spacewalk. The International Space Station is approaching the coast of Chile, moving from northwest to southeast, soon to enter an orbital sunrise.
Setting O2 actuator EVA.
Copy, O2 actuator EVA for EV1.
Leak check complete.
Leak check complete for EV2.
Both McLean and Hague reporting good leak checks on their suits, so their suits have been rock solid throughout the course of this morning's spacewalk preparations.
EV1 is in EVA, waiting for the status on the DCM.
Copy, EV1 EVA.
And EV1, O2 position EVA on the DCM.
Copy, O2 position confirm EVA on the DCM for EV1.
V2, O2 position, EVA, confirmed on DCM.
Copy, EV2, O2 actuator position EVA. Nick. Depress pump manization valve, take 2, open.
First pump man ISO valve is open.
And I am taking the emergency MPEP to open.
Copy.
The depressurization now has resumed. It will be placing the crew lock section down at vacuum a short time from now.
EVs, monitor suit T gauge less than 5.5. If it goes above 5.5, we'll stop the depress.
1 copies.
2 copies.
Just to set the stage one more time, this is the first spacewalk for both Anne McLean and Nick Hague. McLean is EV1, or extravehicular crew member number 1 today, wearing the suit bearing the red stripes.
When crew lock at 2.
Nick Hague, EV2, or extravehicular crew member number 2. His suit bears no stripes.
Copy. I'll take it closed.
Once the 2 spacewalkers are outside, they will activate their helmet cameras that are mounted on their extravehicular mobility units or spacesuits. You'll be seeing up close and personal views of the work that they'll be doing at the Port 4 work site. And McLean's helmet camera number that you'll see, it's a ghostly figure that you'll see in the lower corner of your screen. It will be number 20. Nick Hague's helmet camera is number 17.
Nick, heads up. Should be approaching 2.8 side.
Be showing 2.4.
2.4.
Closing depress pump man ISO valve.
The depress pump man ISO valve closed at 2.0. Next for you, for EV2, on the UIA, switch depress pump power to off, OFF.
Depress pump power is off, OFF.
Both EVs, now it's time for your report of the initial tether config.
Okay, starting at EV1, I have a waist tether. On my left side, the gate closed, slider lock, black on black. That is hooked to my MWS. My safety tether on my left side, my red hook is connected to my D-ring extender. Gate closed, slider lock, black on black. That leads to my crew reel number 23, which is unlocked. My yellow hook is connected to the anchor reel. The yellow hook is gate closed, slider lock, black on black. Anchor reel is unlocked, and that leads to my MWS. On my right side, I have my right waist tether. And Nick, can you get an eye on that? Where it hooks?
Right waist tether. Stand by.
Right here.
And it is closed, slider lock, black on black.
Okay, and that leads to the waist tether large hook, which is gate closed, slider lock, black on black, hooked to EV2's anchor reel, gate closed, slider lock, black on black. His anchor reel is unlocked.
Here in Mission Control, Spacewalk Officer Jackie Kagi reports to Flight Director Mary Lawrence that all of the crew's reports on the configuration of their tethers is as they should be. Everything in good shape as we edge ever so close down to vacuum for the crew lock and the start of today's spacewalk.
And I see his red hook. And that is gate closed, slider lock, black on black. Additionally, on the airlock D-ring extender, I see EV2's waist tether, gate closed, slider lock, black on black, which leads back to his D-ring extender, gate closed, slider lock, black on black.
Okay, guys.
Station from the airlock. Did you copy all the reports?
Yeah, David, it's coming back to you. The only thing we'd like to repeat is the yellow hook on anchor reel, EV2.
Didn't work. And Tracy, I have EV2's yellow hook hooked to his anchor reel, and I see it gate closed, slider lock, black on black.
All right, that's a good config for both you and Nick.
Copies.
EVs, as the pressure keeps slowly going down, just a heads up, when DPDT approaches 0, you can expect an alert tone.
1 copies.
2 copies.
The heads up on the next actions is when the EV hatch delta P is less than 0.5 psi, that's when we will open the hatch.
1 copy.
And I've got all the bags all the way forward to give you as much room.
Following final systems checks and communications checks, the crew will open the hatch on the crew lock, exposing them to the vacuum of space. That will be right before they place their suits on internal battery power. The big batteries that we're talking about that are in the process of being replaced, the nickel hydrogen batteries being replaced for the new lithium ion batteries, they have the same dimensions, 40.4 by 36.8 by 18.9 inches. The lithium ion batteries weigh a bit more. The nickel hydrogen batteries, the older ones that are being removed for disposal and storage on the station, weigh 364 pounds of mass on Earth. The lithium ion batteries weigh 428 pounds apiece. Joining Christina Koch and David St. Jacques is the commander of Expedition 59, Russian cosmonaut Oleg Kononenko, who launched with St. Jacques and Anne McClain last December. They will remain on board the station until they return home on June 25th, Kazakhstan time, for a landing in the Soyuz MS-11 spacecraft. As we mentioned earlier, the robotics team has already been hard at work over the past several days this week, robotically relocating 4 of the old nickel hydrogen batteries from their slots in the integrated electronics assembly for the 4A power channel at the base of the P4 truss of the International Space Station. One of those old batteries now parked temporarily on the special purpose dexterous manipulator, the Dexter robotic attachment on the station's Canadarm2 robotic arm. 3 of the old batteries were moved for disposal to the external pallet that is parked on a payload attachment point on the truss of the station. Those batteries will burn up with that pallet later this year once it is placed in a future H-2 transfer vehicle, a Japanese cargo ship that is used to transport these batteries to and from the station. In addition to that work, 3 new lithium-ion batteries were relocated robotically into the resulting open slots in the integrated electronics assembly. All of this work to be replicated a week from today by Anne McClain and Christina Koch during the next spacewalk that will service the 2A power channel on the P4 truss.
One should be approaching 0.5. Heads up.
The hatch is reading 0.9 PSID.
Copy 0.9er on the hatch gauge.
Is reading 0.6 PSID.
0.6. We are rating 28 millimeters. It jibes.
Okay.
EV1, we're showing 26 millimeters of mercury.
Checking.
The crew lock section of Quest just about down to vacuum. Just a few more steps before the two spacewalkers, Anne McLean and Nick Hague, take final systems and suit checks and open the hatch to expose them to the vacuum of space. The official start of the spacewalk is marked when they place their suits on battery power.
And David, the EV hatch reads 0.5 PSID.
0.5 PSID. Your go to open and stow the EV hatch.
Work. Okay, the handle is unlocked.
You see the outer thermal cover of the Quest Airlock's crew lock section now open. The hatch was opened at 6:58 a.m. Central Time. The EVA not yet officially underway. We're standing by for the crew placing their suits on battery power to mark the official start of today's spacewalk. In addition, Thomas Pesquet of the European Space Agency will be taking over ground communications duties, talking directly to McLean and Hague during the course of today's spacewalk. Tracy Caldwell-Dyson on the right has guided the crew through the final elements of their spacewalk preparations inside the crew lock. Pesquet, again, a veteran of two spacewalks, one of which was a replica of what will be conducted today by McLean and Hague. Pesquet joined Shane Kimbrough on January 13th, 2017 for battery replacement work on the starboard fore truss.
Didn't copy step 14. You got that MPES closed?
Confirm. Both 13 and 14 complete.
Excellent. Well, I will
Yeah.
Let me move the bag up later.
wish Anne and
Go.
Nick
There we go.
There you go.
successful EVA. Will be here supporting you. I'm going to officially hand you over to your ground IV, Thomas.
All right, thanks, TC. Merci, David. Super boulot. And Anne and Nick, this is Thomas. The team here is ready. Are you guys ready to step into the post-depress section of the Q card?
Good morning, Thomas and the rest of the team. We are ready.
Ready to go.
Okay, so on your DCM, you'll now switch power to BAT, and would like you to stagger your switch throws and expect a warning tone.
EV1 in work. EV1 is BAT. And tell me my display switch is functional.
E2's in bat. Display is functional.
Copy, EV1 and 2 in bat and display switch is functional. Nick, on the UIA, you'll take the power EV2 switches, 2 of them, to the off position.
Copy. EV1, power off. EV2, power off.
And if you can check for us that the power EV1 2 LEDs are off.
As expected.
And 2 LEDs are off, and I got the H2O message as well.
We copy H2O message for both of you. You can now disconnect your SCU from the DCM, install the DCM cover, and stow the SCU in the pouch.
This is Mission Control Houston, with McLean and Haig having placed their suits on internal battery power. The official start of today's spacewalk marked at 7:01 a.m. Central Time, 8:01 a.m. Eastern Time. The 214th spacewalk in support of space station assembly and maintenance now officially underway. Once again, the start time 7:01 a.m. Central, 8:01 a.m. Eastern Time, as the International Space Station flew just to the south of Madagascar.
EV2 SCUs in the pouch. DCM covers installed.
Copy, EV1 and 2 SCUs disconnected, DCM covers in place, and SCUs in the pouch. Nick, you can now check that the depress pump manual isolation valve is closed.
It is closed, Jamal.
Copy, and for both of you on your DCM, you'll take the temperature control valve to max hot.
EV1 is max hot.
EV2 max hot.
Copy, EV1 and 2, and you can now take your water switch to on, ON.
EV1 water switch on.
2 water switch on.
Copy, EV1 and 2, check that your DCM display is blank and you have no bite light.
EV1, DCM blank, no bite.
2 blank, no bite.
You can now adjust your temperature control as desired, and if you could please report your suit P gauge to us.
Okay, EV1 is about 4.5 on the TCV, suit P gauge is reading 4.3.
Copy, EV1.
EV2, suit P gauge 4.2, DCVs at 5.
Copy, EV2. You can take your visors down. It's nice and bright outside.
EV1 copies.
Thomas Pesquet, the spacewalk communicator here in Mission Control, talking to McLean and Haig as they prepare to exit the Quest airlock. The spacewalk officially underway at 7:01 a.m. Central Time, 8:01 a.m. Eastern Time. You see in this view in the upper right-hand corner the Soyuz MS-12 spacecraft docked to the Rassvet module on the Nadir side, the Earth-facing side of the Russian segment of the International Space Station, having arrived just a week ago, carrying Haig along with Alexei Ovchinin and Christina Cook to the station from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan.
Check what you caught on.
Yeah, my left foot's on something.
I think you're free now.
Okay.
It's just the bag is behind you.
Copy.
Good.
Copy.
If your tethers look good, you look clear going through the hatch.
Copy. Okay, and EV1 safety tether is to the forward airlock D-ring. Gate closed, slider lock, black on black.
Okay, we copied gate is closed and hook is locked. Can you check one more time for us that your reels are unlocked and?
Yes, I see my crew lock is unlocked, crew reel is unlocked, my anchor reel is unlocked, and I can see again my yellow hook is locked black on black, and my red anchor to my left steering extender is locked black on black.
We copy, those are good checks, and you can now attach Nick's anchor hook to the aft external D-ring.
And McLean now peering out of the hatchway of the crew lock section of the Quest airlock, beginning the first spacewalk of her career. She'll be followed shortly by Nick Hague as they configure their tools, reels, and tethers, all of their equipment for the planned 6.5-hour spacewalk to continue the replacement of older nickel hydrogen batteries with new lithium-ion batteries and associated adapter plates for the integrated electronics assembly for the 4A power channel on the P4 truss of the International Space Station.
Connected to the aft airlock D-ring, gate closed, slider lock, black on black. In front of me, I also have his anchor reel. I see it's unlocked. I see his yellow hook. It's locked.
Reel is unlocked and the red hook is locked.
And crew reel is unlocked. And EV1 is egressing.
And we copy all. We see you guys in a good config.
And McLean now outside of the International Space Station.
EV1 has egress.
Copy EV1, and with that you can give EV2 a go to release his waist tether from the airlock D-ring extender.
All right, Nick, you are go.
Copy and work.
McLean is the 13th female to walk in space, the 12th American. The one Russian cosmonaut was the first, Svetlana Savitskaya, in August of 1984. The first American astronaut to walk in space, Kathy Sullivan, on the STS-41G mission of the Shuttle Challenger in October of that same year.
Copy, Nick, and you can now transfer the crew lock bag number 1 to EV1, and EV1, you'll receive that crew lock bag and store on your BRT.
Okay. And Nick, I'm grabbing my ret here.
Okay, that's about as far down as I can get.
All right.
There you go.
Okay, I have the crew lock bag. Catching my ret. Okay, my BRT ret is on the crew lock bag. And the ret's coming back to you, Nick.
Ready. Got it.
Copy, Ann, and Nick, if you can bring back that large small ret to the D-ring extender.
And it is attached to the D-ring extender.
We copy. You can now, if Anne is ready, you can transfer that V-guide bag to her, and Anne, you'll receive that V-guide bag and temp stow it on the airlock circular handrail.
Stand by one.
The V-guide bag, referred to by Thomas Pesquet, is a bag containing equipment that consists of 4 so-called V-guides. These are alignment apparatus that would be used to perform a replacement of space station radiators, heat dispensing radiators in the future. That'll be the first task of today's spacewalk, actually unrelated to the battery replacement, but to be conducted while the crew is in the vicinity of the work site to which this bag will be stowed for future use if required.
The support loop on the handrail, so you can go ahead and release the internal ret if you can get to it.
Yeah, I'm going to pull it back toward me. Hey.
Good view of Anne McLean, soon to be joined outside by Nick Hague. Spacewalk began again at 7:01 a.m. Central Time. The communications outside by the two spacewalkers will at some time, from time to time, be a rhubarb of sound, a cacophony of sound between themselves out in the void of space and the spacecraft communicator, Thomas Pesquet, here in Mission Control.
With the large hook, if I do that, it's going to string across the hatch. We're not bringing the V-guide back, so I just want to take it back to the handrail it's on.
Yes, that is correct, Nick. You're go to do that.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Nick, I'm going to move to the forward side, or up by the toolboxes. You can egress.
Copy that. Jamal, I am putting my BRT ret on the crew lock bag, drag out behind me.
We copy, Nick, and once you're in a good config, you can egress the airlock with that crew lock bag, number 2 on your BRT ret.
Okay. That large small that was on the crew lock bag is now on the D-ring extender in the airlock, and I am egressing.
We copy.
You're clear. That bag's just sitting just port of the airlock, or the hatch.
Okay.
I am forward port.
Okay.
And Nick Hague now outside the International Space Station in the early minutes of his first spacewalk.
All right, from here I can see that your left spacer handle is down.
All right. Stand by one. I'm going to get this on my BRT first.
Oh, copy.
The International Space Station is flying from southwest to northeast across the northern Indian Ocean, about to cross the southwestern coast of India. Just minutes into today's spacewalk, the first of 2019, the 214th in support of space station assembly and maintenance.
Bottles out. The BRT. Okay.
That looks like a good spot. I also see your right spacer handle down.
Okay. We come around so we can see each other.
All right. Good. Pull this bag out of the way.
And whenever you guys are in a good position, we're ready for your body check.
Okay, I don't see your WBS light.
Okay, I tilt back more.
Nope. It's not on.
Okay. Yeah, you got bumped off. Not on.
All right.
Okay, good green light there.
I see 3 mini workstation tabs up on you. Okay.
Anne McLean, near the top of your screen, wearing the suit bearing the red stripes as EV1 or extravehicular crew member number 1. Nick Hague at the bottom of your screen. He has a suit with no stripes as EV2 or extravehicular crew member number 2. Before long, they will be in position to activate their helmet cameras to provide us up-close views of all of the work they'll be conducting in support of this battery swap out at the P4 truss. Once they do, Anne McLean's helmet camera will have the ghostly figure, the number 20 on the lower right-hand corner. Nick Hague's helmet camera is number 17.
Is locked on my lefty ring extender, black on black. Rails are both unlocked. Yellow hook is locked black on black, and my anchor is locked black on black.
Okay.
We copy, and that's a good config.
My handles, my tabs, lights.
Copy.
BBS. Okay, starting top. You've got a good green light. Your helmet lights are on. They look good. I see 3 tabs up, and I see 1 safer handle and 2 safer handles down.
Copy.
And I've got a dry hap.
I have the dry hap as well.
I think that's good buddy checks.
Concur, what do you think, Tomas?
Yeah, we think that's good body checks. We didn't get Nick's.
Closed, black on black, anchor reel, unlocked, yellow hook, gate closed, black on black, screw reel, unlock, and red hook, gate closed, black on black.
And Anne and Nick, those are good configure. And now go to close the hatch thermal cover.
Copy. Didn't work.
Hatch thermal cover is closed.
Copy, thermal cover is closed, and you can now perform your translation adaptation. I can guide you through it, or you can just do as you please.
Okay.
While McLean and Hague orient themselves in their first minutes of their initial spacewalks of their career, a couple of social media questions under the hashtag AskNASA that we're continuing to take in from our viewers around the world. The next one is this their first spacewalk? And the answer is yes, their initial spacewalk, the first for both McLean and Hague, as they plan a 6.5-hour excursion outside of the International Space Station in support of the continuing upgrade of the power systems, this time on the port truss of the International Outpost. The next question, how often does a spacewalk happen during a year? That's a variable number. There's no set number. It depends on the amount of operational requirement that there is either for assembly or maintenance work. In this case, there could be quite a few spacewalks conducted throughout the course of this calendar year, not just by U.S. astronauts, but by Russian cosmonauts as well. Later in the year, there'll be perhaps 4 to 6 spacewalks out on the far port truss of the International Space Station, the P6 truss, to continue this battery upgrade work. And there are spacewalks being developed, not yet completely set in stone, but spacewalks that are under consideration and development for improvements and upgrades and maintenance work to the alpha magnetic spectrometer that was delivered to the International Space Station in 2011.
Yeah. Yep. Feeling comfortable.
Copy, me too. We'll get over here to the starboard side.
Okay.
Goodbye. Right, you guys back.
Okay, V1 and 2, we copy you're both comfortable. Yeah, we copy you're both comfortable. Small reminder from us to take it easy during the first hour of the EVA, to not impact the METOX rates. And with that, we'll step into our V-guide bag, deploy a task, and you guys can retrieve that V-guide bag from the Airlock circular handrail, put a ret on it, and tend it up to that S0 work site.
Okay, come on, I have a mini workstation ret onto the V-guide bag. So Nick, if you wouldn't mind releasing it right there.
Yep, it's coming your way.
Copy.
Released.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to move starboard and let you go by.
I'm going to tend it towards you a little bit. Okay.
Copy. You can translate up the seat spur to that S0 starboard wedge face, and Nick, you're going to be leading that translation up the seat spur.
This first task by McLean and Haig, unrelated to the actual battery work that will be ongoing for the bulk of today's spacewalk, this deployment of this so-called V-guide bag. The V-guides act as an alignment tool during the Canadarm2 robotic arm removal and installation of radiator replacements, should they become necessary for both the starboard 1 and port 1 trusses of the International Space Station in the future. These V-guides act as an alignment tool to enable the space station's robotic arm to precisely install the radiator replacement units should they become necessary. This V-guide bag will be installed at a location on the S0 truss. That's the midpoint of the backbone of the International Space Station, right smack dab in the middle of the truss segments of the left and right sides of the truss of the International Space Station, and will remain there indefinitely should they be required for any radiator replacement work in the future.
I'm on the seat spur. I'm going to let you get a little front of me so your safety tether lays up.
Okay. And the bag's just kind of tending over your head.
Copy.
Okay. Around the corner.
Copy. I see your safety tether. I'm clear of it.
Okay. Stand by. I'm going to.
And McLean, with the suit bearing the red stripes at the top of your screen, just to the right is Nick Haig, as they prepare to deploy this V-guide bag, this bag of alignment tools at the S0 or midpoint of the truss segment of the station. We're about to pass into an orbital sunrise, and in doing so, orbital sunset, I should say, and in doing so, we're also in a handover between satellites on the Tracking and Data Relay satellite system, some 25 minutes into today's spacewalk that began at 7:01 a.m. Central Time, 8:01 a.m. Eastern Time, the first spacewalk of 2019.
Am I at your feet now?
Yep, I'm swinging them out of the way.
All right.
Okay. So I think if I pull it a little bit more this way, it's kind of where you need to be.
Yep, I concur.
Okay. Okay. Hang out here for a second, let you get in position.
Okay.
I have a hand on the A hook that we released.
Okay. All right, so I could take the bag. You want to keep going?
Okay, you've got the bag.
I have the bag.
Keep going up, put down my green hook.
Copy.
You said it looks good.
All right, we see you guys going. You're looking good, and Nick, you'll fair lead your green hook on S03439 on top of that S0 starboard wedge work site.
Copy, Thomas, handrails in hand.
Our first view from the helmet camera of Anne McLean. Extravehicular number 1, EV1, bearing the suit with the red stripes as she begins to make her way first to the S0 truss for the deployment of the bag of alignment tools for future radiator replacement work should that become necessary. She and Nick Hague, who will be wearing the helmet camera designated 17 in that lower right-hand corner that you see, they then will press on to the P4 truss, the port 4 truss segment of the International Space Station on the left side of the station's backbone to set up the work site that they will be at for the rest of today's activities to install adapter plates and to move a couple of old nickel hydrogen batteries around for temporary stowage on the International Space Station.
Strap there?
That's correct. Delta is attached to 3423.
Copy, Delta is attached to 3423.
And Thomas, my green hook is down.
Copy, Nick, your green hook down on 3439.
The throttle's unlocked.
And Thomas, the Alpha is hooked to the nadir stanchion of the starboard handrail of this nadir keel.
We copy, and we would like to remind you to check that this MLI flap beneath the 3423 is secured to structure. We didn't hear that call if you made it.
Yes, the Delta is connected to 3423.
Yeah, we copy. Delta is connected. We want to make sure that this MLI flap underneath handrail 3423 is still secured to structure.
Oh, I see. No, actually, it's not on structure. It's kind of over the handrail.
Yeah, I can correct that.
Copy.
Okay, and the MLI flap is secure underneath the handrail.
Okay.
We copy, Nick. That flap is underneath the handrail. It's a good config. And you can move on to the next strap.
I have Bravo in my hand.
I'm working on Charlie. Charlie's unhooked. And Thomas, early hook is down on the, we're calling this the nadir starboard handrail on the port side of the truss.
Copying, those are good words. We see with 3 straps attached, and there's still Bravo to go.
And Bravo is about to be attached to the starboard stanchion.
If you need slack, I can give you some.
No, Bravo is now attached to the starboard stanchion of 3437.
We copy all 4 straps are attached. You can now cinch those straps so that the V-guide bag is as secure to structure as can be and not interfering with the OTSD or the ATA.
Copy. And you want me to do Bravo first, so it kind of sends lower away from that OTSD? What do you think, Nick?
I need to get Delta up here because right now the Charlie strap is going right over the top of the end of it, so I need to move it more to the starboard.
Okay.
So
I'll hold.
Stand by.
There is some slack left in Bravo if you need it.
Yeah, give me all the slack you can.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Pushing this way. And stand by, and I'm going to release this. There's a couple twists that are going to make it tough to get fully cinched. I'm going to take those out. Wedged in here pretty tight.
Okay, you need to reposition it.
Okay. Oh, the twist got in. And now push on the ORU toward me.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay.
All right. Now you can push it down as much as I can. Okay.
All right, you ready for me to do Bravo?
Yeah, you need to do Bravo to bring the ORU towards you.
Okay.
To keep that line off the OTSD and the ORU itself. So cinch as tight as you can. Work.
That's about as tight as it's going to get.
Okay. Tighten this. Okay. So I'm going to back up Omaha so you guys can see clearance on the OTSD. You see that in the WVS?
Hey, Nick, we don't have a good view right now in your WVS. This is not a good coverage area, but stand by for a moment.
Okay.
We're trying to see what we can get.
Good. Easier to see at night if you take the sunglasses off. It's pretty stable.
Yeah, the alpha is a little loose, but I think between Bravo and Delta being tight, it's pretty in there.
If I cinch Charlie anymore, it's going to be over the top of the bottom of the OTSD.
All right.
So You've got no more slack. Alpha we can't adjust.
Right. The only option we would have is loosening Delta and pulling it this way.
And then that draws the strap for Charlie over there.
Over there, Tiffy. Yeah. I think this is the best spot to stay clear of that.
You could try to wrap the Alpha strap around the handrail a couple times.
Yeah.
And then connect it to shorten it up. What do you guys on the ground think?
Stand by, Nick. We're talking about it right now.
Okay.
Another option is to loop Alpha around the handrail and then attach it back to the metal frame of the V-guide bag.
Hey, Ann and Nick.
Because you guys don't. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're copying your conversation. We're talking about your plan to wrap that AET around Alpha and bring it back to the bag. And we need you guys to take it easy for a minute on the med rates, if you don't mind.
Okay. Yep.
Copy.
Stand by.
This is Mission Control Houston. Some 36 minutes now into today's spacewalk by Anne McLean and Nick Hague. Everything proceeding well. The crew a few minutes ahead of the timeline as they operate at the center point of the backbone of the International Space Station at the S0 or starboard 0 truss, where they're in the process of deploying a bag that is filled with alignment guides that would be used in the event a replacement of a radiator for either the starboard 1 or port 1 truss of the International Space Station would become necessary.
There's probably 3 or 4 inches of clearance from the strap to the very nadir tip of the OTSD, and then there's a kind of a dog handrail handle at the bottom of the OTSD. That's got another 4 inches of clearance from the ORU. The ORU is not directly over the OTSD. It's maybe got an inch or 2 of offset.
Okay, we copy, Nick. This sounds like a good configuration. Stand by 1.
And one suggestion from where I'm at, I'm looking at the Alpha strap, Thomas, and it is loose. One recommendation, rather than going around the handrail, is to loop it back through the tied down strap that is on the V-guide bag, the diagonal straps that the hooks are stowed in. Loop it through there and then hook it back to the same place that it's at right now, this nadir stanchion. I think that would keep Alpha, that would keep any drift from going up toward the Charlie area, toward the OTSD.
Okay, Anne, we're okay with that suggestion, so you can go ahead and put that in work.
Here in Mission Control, standing on the left side of your screen in the white shirt is European Space Agency astronaut Thomas Pesquet, who's serving as the spacewalk communicator, talking directly to McLean and Hague as they conduct their work outside of the Quest airlock. Seated is Tracy Caldwell Dyson, veteran astronaut. Pesquet and Dyson with a total of 5 spacewalks together to their credit, no stranger to the environment of spacewalking. Standing second from your right is the flight director for today's spacewalk, as she will be again a week from today for the next spacewalk by Anne McLean and Christina Cook. That is Mary Lawrence. And on the far right of your screen is flight director Rick Henfling, who on April 8th will be the lead flight director for the third in the series of triple EVAs, as they are known. That'll be a spacewalk by Nick Hague and David St. Jacques of the Canadian Space Agency to install jumper cables for system redundancy for the station's robotic arm and other communications upgrades.
4 straps. So, Nick, if you could snap a couple pictures, that's good enough for now. And we go to move on to our next task.
Okay, copy,
We're going to give Bravo another cinch here.
Once you do that, then I'll take up the slack in Charlie.
Okay.
Yeah, nice. That's a good movement.
Okay, how's that?
That's good. Okay. What's the best clearance we've got? Ground, I'm going to snap some photos.
Copy, Nick.
And an excellent view of Anne McLean wearing the suit with the red stripes through this view from one of the enhanced high-definition cameras on the truss of the International Space Station. The station is currently flying 248 miles just south of the Aleutian Islands, moving from northwest to southeast.
And come on, as he finishes up those photos, would you want me to start moving toward the front face?
Yes, it's correct, while Nick is finishing that up. And you can start moving. If you haven't done so, obviously you can release your BRT red from the bag and start translating. Your met rates are both looking good right now. So you go to phase 1.
Copy and work, and my BRT ret is currently the crew lock bag. I did release my V-guide bag ret to my workstation.
Copy, you released your mini workstation red from the bag. It's a good config.
Okay.
And while you're on your way, if you find a good time to give us a glove and a hat check, and same for you, Nick.
Okay. I'll stop right here and get that. Come on, both gloves have no change, no damage, and my hat is still dry.
Copy, Ann. Good gloves and dry hat. You're free to move on.
Yeah.
And Nick, you can...
Good gloves, no change. And
Copy.
dry hat.
Copy, Nick. You have good...
While Nick Hague and Anne McLean work at the S0 truss installing and deploying this bag of alignment guides for future use, should they become necessary, we're continuing to take questions at hashtag AskNASA from our viewers around the world.
And, Nick,
how fast is the space station traveling while the astronauts are spacewalking? The same as it always travels, 5 miles a second or 17,500 miles an hour. That is the orbital velocity of all orbiting satellites and spacecraft. The next question, why aren't external batteries changed with the station's robotic arm? Fact of the matter is that they are. Earlier this week, robotics officers here in Mission Control worked to move 4 of the old nickel hydrogen batteries from their initial locations in the integrated electronics assembly at the base of the P4 truss of the station to various other locations for future disposal, and they moved 3 of the new lithium-ion batteries into open slots on the integrated electronics assembly at the P4 truss. So this is a blend of robotics work that precedes the spacewalk. The spacewalk itself by McLean and Hague today is designed
and Anne, we see you up on phase 1
to move adapter plates, basically platforms upon which old nickel hydrogen batteries will be permanently stowed on the International Space Station, and to relocate 2 old nickel hydrogen batteries from old locations to slots in the integrated electronics assembly at the P4 truss that will not be returned to Earth. So it's basically a blend of robotics and the human hand that is at work both today as it will be a week from today, when similar work is conducted on the opposite side of the P4 truss for another one of the power channels on the station, the 2A power channel.
Copy, you picked up your green hook, and keep us posted.
On the seat of handrail.
Okay. I'm out over PMM.
Your leads off. We're heading towards phase 1.
If you turn that corner up by phase 1, I want to double check that my tether didn't get caught on something. I think it might have gotten hung up on something just below phase 1 that you might be able to take off.
I'll check it out.
Thanks. I'm at the starboard cedar cart.
Yeah. You did get hung up a little bit.
Okay.
Gotta be careful not to get you behind me.
Yeah, Nick, we see you. Yeah, you got it. You got it. It's off now. Good job. Well done.
I see 3651. I dropped my green hook.
I'm on phase 1, come on.
Copy, Anne. You can drop down your green hook on 3651, and we see you, Nick, on phase 1. So when you get to that truss jumper in bay 1, you can assess the lighting conditions and let us know what you think.
Copy.
And Anne, once your green hook is in place on that zenith extension of that handrail 3651, you can translate to the fourth seated cart with 3, which is zenith inboard on that seated cart, and stow your crew log bag on this APFR.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I think I can put enough helmet light on it. In day 1, get that panel that you're worried about. Take those pictures.
Okay, Nick, based on your assessment, we think you could get good pictures, so you're free to go ahead and try to snap a few pictures. of those suspected ungrounded connectors. That's panel A165. And I have more words to guide you, but I think you know where it is.
And Natalia, I've got eyes on.
And Thomas, my green hook is down on 3651.
And Nick, warning for
the
you.
wheels are unlocked.
We copy in. Your green hook is on 3651. Wheels are unlocked. Nick, a warning for you. You have to stay 2 feet away from that floating connector inside the bay. If you ever get inside the bay, stay 2 feet away from that connector.
Copy.
Under the MT.
Copy in, under the MT. And on that port seated cart with 3 Zeniths inboard, you'll find your APFR.
Okay.
51 minutes into today's spacewalk by Anne McLean and Nick Hague. Everything proceeding by the book. A good view of Nick Hague, who, along with McLean, are beginning to set up the work site on the port truss of the International Space Station for the battery replacement work that they'll be involved in for the bulk of today's spacewalk. They've already installed a bag of alignment guides on the starboard or the S0 truss at the midpoint of the backbone of the International Space Station. And now they're pressing ahead with setting up portable foot restraints and other tools and equipment that will be used in the installation of 3 adapter plates upon which old nickel hydrogen batteries will be mounted and stowed on the International Space Station. And the relocation of 2 other old nickel hydrogen batteries from one or the other slot on the integrated electronics assembly of the port 4 truss. 2 other slots. This is a shell game, if you will, moving batteries and adapter plates around. So they may be in the final configuration at the end of today's spacewalk, setting the stage for similar work to be done on another power channel, the 2A power channel, a week from today. In the next in this series of spacewalks, a week from today, that one to be conducted by Anne McLean and Christina Cook.
Come on, anything else you want me to take a look at before I got to move out?
No, Nick, thanks a lot. We appreciate all the pictures and the reports. We have good info. You can now move along and get to your work site. If ever you ingressed the truss, please verify for us that your safer handles are down.
Copy, and I did not go inside the truss.
Okay, so you're free to stow your EVA camera and translate port on phase 1.
I'm working on getting my crew lock bag attached to the HFR.
And then I loosened your safety tether was up on a square on a BDCU, so I got it free. You're good.
Copy, thank you.
Panama, I got a MOD strike at mile marker 8580.
We copy, Nick. Hey, Nick, we don't track all these MMOD strikes on the phase one. If you think you can just pass by and avoid it, that's fine for us. If you think it's a problem, then we can look a bit more into it.
No problem, just reporting.
Okay, we copy and thanks for the report, we appreciate it.
That reference to MMOD is micrometeoroid orbital debris, basically a small debris strike on one of the structures of the International Space Station, to be expected as
And Panama, I'm at handrail 3652.
Copy, you're on that P1 handrail 3652. You can attach your green hook. We're 2 minutes away from daylight. Just a heads up for you guys.
Okay, thank you.
back with views from Anne McLean, her helmet camera, number 20 in the lower right-hand corner. Now that we're back in physical location to antennas on the International Space Station and not blocked by station structure, Nick Hague's helmet camera, once that comes into play, will be number 17 in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. We're also about to enter a short handover between satellites on the Tracking and Data Relay satellite system as the International Space Station flies over the Pacific, soon to enter an orbital sunrise, approaching the 1 hour mark into today's spacewalk that's expected to last 6.5 hours.
Confirmation of your green hook, if you're still working on it, that's fine, but we might have missed a call from you.
No, I'm working. Just put it down.
Okay, and for
handrail 3652.
Copy, green hook is down on 3652. We're a few seconds from handover. Nick will translate to the MT coupler between the MT and the port city cart, and we'll catch you on the other side.
Copy.
And I've got the APFR just working on getting on my VRT.
Copy, Ann.
This is Mission Control Houston. A couple of additional questions while we have a moment at hashtag AskNASA from viewers who are tuned in to today's spacewalk activities. The next question, how much do the batteries that they are replacing weigh? The old nickel hydrogen batteries on Earth, at least, of course they're weightless in space, but in mass they weigh 364 pounds. The new lithium-ion batteries are slightly heavier, weighing 428 pounds. They both have the same dimensions of 40.4 inches by 36.8 inches by 18.9 inches.
Copied. It's a good config. Well done there.
Next question, do they have sunrise and sunsets like we have on Earth, or do they pass over sunsets and sunrises throughout the day? The answer is they pass in and out of daylight and darkness every 45 minutes with 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets throughout the day as they orbit the Earth, 16 orbits of the Earth each day. So yes, and that is the whole point of the battery replacements, is that during daylight passes, the energy and the electricity that is stored in these batteries is transferred to the solar arrays that provide power for the station's systems. But when and the batteries store up electricity, the batteries providing the electrical power for the station while the station is in a nighttime pass. And that's the whole point of these new batteries that are being replaced on the station, more powerful, more durable lithium-ion batteries that will last for the rest of the lifetime of the International Space Station.
Got the HFR code.
Copy. And for your info, we still don't have WVS, but well, we're going to get it soon. So, but for now, we don't see your helmet cameras.
Copy.
2 copies. Just watch your clearance in with the HFR. There you go. You're looking good.
Copy, thank you.
And Nick, would like you to power cycle your WVS for us, please.
Copy. And work.
Thank you.
WVS off. WVS on.
1 hour, 3 minutes into today's spacewalk, Anne McLean making her way down the truss of the station to the work site of the P4 or Port 4 truss, where she and Nick Hague will be working to move adapter plates and to relocate 2 old nickel hydrogen batteries on top of those adapter plates for storage on the International Space Station. This coming in the wake of a week's worth of robotics by robotic flight controllers both here in Houston and at the Canadian Space Agency in Saint-Hubert, Quebec, who worked throughout the week to relocate 4 old nickel hydrogen batteries for ultimate disposal, and 3 of the new lithium-ion batteries that were robotically relocated into slots on the integrated electronics assembly, the big electronics relay system that is at the base of one of the solar arrays on the port truss of the station.
Translate to see the card clear of the empty coupler, a few inches, and then rotate the knob to capture.
Okay. And that is complete. Seat card.
Excellent. You can now translate the seat cart outboard and align the inboard edge of the seat cart with the edge of the EP. We have a mile marker for you, but we'll rely on your judgment.
Copy that.
In Wishton, if you haven't done so already, I have settings for you.
And I believe it's 5128 for the crew lock bag, is that correct?
The crew lock bag, correct, is 5128. That's the short one, but really, if you like the other one next to it, nearby, it's good as well.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Thomas. I put it at mile marker 9990. Brakes on the seated cart are locked.
We copy mile marker 9990, and the brakes are engaged on the seated cart. This is a good config. You can now go up the seated cart and configure this APFR with Egress 8 in width 2 to create your bridge to the EP. And I have recommended settings for you if you want.
Ready for the setting.
So the settings should be 6 for the clocking, Golf for the pitch, Foxtrot for the roll, and 6 for the yaw.
Copy. Working. Golf. It's set. It's extended.
We copied 6 and Golf, Nick.
Need to change the pitch a little bit.
Thomas, the crew lock bag is tacked down to handrail 5128.
Copy, Ann. And you can now install the APFR and have settings for you.
Copy, work my way over there.
Tomorrow the bridge is built.
Copy, the bridge is built. And it looks good. That's a nice bridge you've built there, Nick. I have a warning to read you. On the EP, you shouldn't touch the wheels at all. They're a pinch point zone, so don't touch the wheels.
Okay.
And Nick, I have another caution for you on the EP while you're working there. You have to wait until the EP motion dampens out before importing additional loads. You should minimize your translation rate and do not impart EVA loads into the batteries on the EP. Hard copy.
And I copy all tomorrow, thanks. I am on the EP now, Tomás.
Copy, you're on the EP. You want to stow your crew lock bag number 2 on the handrail 3508. And a reminder that it's in between positions Alpha and Charlie, between APs Alpha and Charlie.
This is a good view of the EP, as it is called, the external pallet. You can see the letters HTV7 just behind Nick Haig's legs there. This was the pallet carried up on the H2 train to deliver the latest in the series of lithium-ion batteries and adapter plates that are being used and installed to replace old nickel hydrogen batteries in the power upgrade to the 4A and 2A channels, 2 of the 8 power channels on the International Space Station. 9 of the old nickel hydrogen batteries of the 12 that are being replaced on this spacewalk and the one a week from today will be and are being installed in this external pallet, which ultimately will be disposed of on the next HTV vehicle that flies to the International Space Station.
Come on, I will take those settings for the APFR.
Copy, and those settings are going to be 1, Romeo, Romeo, Foxtrot, 12. So clocking of 1, Romeo, Romeo for pitch, Foxtrot for the roll, and 12 for the yaw in with 10.
Copy. One Romeo, Romeo, Fox 12.
That's a good readback.
The view from Anne McLean's helmet camera as the International Space Station approaches the coast of Chile.
You ratchet wrench out now.
Copy, Nick. You have the ratchet wrench. Your next step is going to be to break torque on AP alpha H1. So AP alpha is on the starboard face of the EP. It's the zenith-most AP.
Copy.
Come on, a good full twist test with a clocking of 1 in with 10 and 1 Romeo, Romeo, Fox 12 is set.
Copy, and we copy good pull twist test and good settings. Do you have a locking color black on that APFR in with 10 as well?
Yes, locking color black on black.
Anne McLean installing an articulating portable foot restraint, or APFR, at the work site at the P4 or Port 4 truss of the station. Nick Hague beginning work with a pistol grip tool, a high-tech screwdriver, if you will, that he is using to break torque on what you heard referred to as APA, that's adapter plate A, the first of 3 such adapter plates that will be moved from the HTV external pallet that carried those adapter plates and new lithium-ion batteries to the International Space Station back in September. The first of these adapter plates will be moved to an empty slot in the integrated electronics assembly on the Port 4 truss of the station for the 4A power channel. Upon that adapter plate will be mounted one of the old nickel hydrogen batteries that will be housed at that location on a permanent basis. It cannot be discarded. Only 9 of the 12 old nickel hydrogen batteries can be discarded on that external pallet on the next H2 transfer vehicle cargo ship that arrives at the station.
And Nick, whenever you're in position for that H1 bolt. Okay, you're reading my mind. If you're in position for H1, you can install the ratchet wrench with a hex driver. Confirm that you have one line flush, and once that is done, you can break torque.
Flush.
Copy, and you can break torque, and we expect max 1 turn.
Okay, copy that. Better position. Okay, I've got one line flush tomorrow.
Copy, your go to break torque.
Torque is broken. H1 for adapter plate alpha.
Copy, Nick, well done. Torque is broken, quarter turn on H1 for AP alpha. You can get into position for AP Bravo H1. Bravo is just nadir of that alpha adapter plate, and those two H1 bolts should be close by. The Bravo H1 and Alpha H1 should be close by.
Okay, copy that. So I'm at the Bravo plate H1, one line flush.
We copy Bravo H1, one line flush. Your go to break torque, and again, a max 1 turn.
These adapter plates weigh 75 pounds apiece on Earth. Of course, a mass of 75 pounds in weightlessness. And these adapter plates serve 3 main purposes: to complete the circuitry for the battery charge discharge unit that essentially stores electricity during daylight passes of the Earth and disperses power to the various systems on the International Space Station while the station flies are housed, and serves as a stowage location for 3 of the old nickel hydrogen batteries. The 12 nickel hydrogen batteries that are being replaced on this spacewalk and the next, and the associated robotics for those operations. The external pallet only has 9 slots for disposal, so 3 of these nickel hydrogen batteries must be stowed on the International Space Station. 2 of the old batteries will be relocated on these adapter plates during this spacewalk, and a 3rd nickel hydrogen battery will be relocated onto an adapter plate on the next spacewalk to be conducted a week from today.
Yeah, I have the scoops, so I'm going to move toward spot 4.
Copy, you retrieved the scoops, and we have a good WVS for you, Nick. Not yet, but we see you in the station external camera, so we have good visual on both of you.
Copy.
Copy. I'm at Bravo adapter plate H2, one line flush.
Copy, Bravo H2, one line flush. Good config. Go to break torque.
Is broken on Bravo adapter plate H2, half turn.
Copy. Torque is broken on Bravo H2, 1 turn. You can now move to the forward-facing side of the EP, to that AP Charlie, that H1 location, which should be nadir location on that AP Charlie.
Confirm.
We're in a short handover between satellites on the Tracking and Data Relay satellite system. 1 hour, 21 minutes into the spacewalk. Anne McLean and Nick Hague doing well, staying a few minutes ahead of the timeline as they prepare to move adapter plates from an external pallet that carried these adapter plates as well as new lithium-ion batteries to the International Space Station on a Japanese HTV cargo ship last September. Here in Mission Control, from left to right, Thomas Pesquet of the European Space Agency. On the far left of your screen, who is acting as the spacewalk communicator to McLean And Nick Hague, while they're outside, to his left is Tracy Caldwell Dyson, veteran astronaut, who is following the activities of David St. Jacques and Christina Cook inside the station, as well as serving as the spacecraft communicator for the setup of today's spacewalk and the conclusion of it later today. Mary Lawrence is the lead flight director, second from your right, overseeing all of the spacewalk activities, both today as she will a week from today. And on the far right is Flight Director Rick Henfling, who will be the lead flight director on Monday, April 8th, for the third spacewalk in this particular series of excursions, that one to be conducted by Nick Hague and David St. Jacques, to install truss jumpers and extension cables for system redundancy outside of the station.
Copy, Charlie, H1, one light and flush, go for brake torque. Charlie, half a turn, you can move on to H2.
I'm in position to my H2 adapter plate Charlie, one line flush.
Copy, you are go to brake torque on Charlie H2.
Charlie H2, work is broken, half a turn.
And somehow the scoop is installed at the 7:30, so it's locked on H1.
Copy, and the scoop is at 7:30 on H1. You can install the H2 scoop at 6. And Nick, we copy, your torque is broken on Charlie H2. You can install that ratchet wrench back in crew lock bag 2. And I'll have words for you to retorque AP Charlie with the EP PGT that's on the crew lock bag.
Look at that, inward.
And Anne, remember from the team here, you cannot use that H1 scoop for stabilization right now.
And say again last summer?
Yeah, and we don't want you to use that scoop that you just put on H1 for translation and stabilization.
Okay.
As she works at the integrated electronics assembly, the electronic grid, if you will, for the P4 truss, the 4A power channel for the International Space Station. Again, setting up equipment for the upcoming relocation of a trio of adapter plates and the repositioning of 2 old nickel hydrogen batteries on those adapter plates as part of the reconfiguration and upgrade to the power system for today, the 4A channel, and a week from today, the 2A power channel on the port truss of the station.
How's it going, Nick?
It's going good. I'm just getting the PGT out right now. I'm doing a cal.
Copy.
Gotta drive this one bolt first on C before we get adapter plate A out.
Okay.
How about you?
Yeah, just getting a ticket scoop on.
And just to be specific, that scoop on the H2, you can use for translation because H2 is actually installed, but that scoop on H1, the bolt underneath is released, so that's why you cannot use that one for translation.
Pretty understand.
And that's really my bad. I should have told you to install H2 first, and you would have been in a good configuration.
All good. We're getting it there.
Okay, Tomas, I've got the PGT out. It's Pascal, good LED test, ready for setting.
Copy, Nick. Sounds good. Your settings are alpha 7, clockwise 2.
At alpha 7, clockwise 2, set.
That's a good readback.
And come on, the scoop on H2 is installed at the 6 o'clock position.
Copy, the scoop is installed at the 6.
And it is released, and I'll get everything back inside the bag.
Copy.
Tomorrow I've got the hex pull or the hex driver down into H2 on adapter plate Charlie, 1 line flush.
Copy, Nick. And you can check your gloves and your HAP, and you'll report after the next call to Nick. And Nick, you're free to retorque AP Charlie with the EP PGT. You should install the hex driver onto H2, confirm 1 line flush, and then you go.
I have 1 line flush.
Copy, 1 line flush. You'll go to torque that AP Charlie H2.
Copy. Work.
And 10 seconds from the handover, you guys.
Copy.
And Anne, you can start translating back to the EP.
Tomorrow.
Nick, we're back from the handover. Go ahead.
Okay. I have 2, 9.1 on the torque, half a turn, good green light.
Copy. Those are good words. 9.1. Did you say half a turn and good green light?
0.51 turn, good green light.
Copy. Those are good words. And if you can give us a glove inspection and HAP check, and if you've done that, we're ready to take yours as well.
Okay, stand by. I will do that. And I believe somehow at this time I'm heading back to the EP.
Yeah, that's correct. I don't know if you got that call while we were transitioning to another Tidris, but you'll go to head back to the EP and join Nick.
Okay, no, I didn't. And I'm doing a glove check. A good glove check, and my HAP is dry.
Copy V1, good gloves and HAP is dry. How about you, Nick?
HAP is dry.
Copy dry HAP.
Those are good, no change.
And gloves are good. And your next step is to translate up to the EP and meet up with Nick. You can fail lead on the EP as required. I'll remind you that while both of you are working and translating on the EP and POA, you should not impart simultaneous loads. And Nick, at that point, you just have to stand by and wait for Anne to come.
Okay, so Nick, I'm at the APFR bridge, so when you're at a good stopping point, I come join you.
Okay, and tomorrow, I'm going to drive H1 and then H2 on adapter plate alpha. Those are the next two steps.
And Nick, before you maneuver too much, would like Anne to check your safety tether.
And I see Nick's, it's wrapped around the base of the arm and underneath the MT.
Copy, Anne, it sounds good. Would like you to take a look at Nick's safety tether on Nick, actually, once you get up there.
Yeah, between my legs.
Ah, copy, okay. And just waiting on your go to get onto the EP again.
Okay. Let me put down a BRT and I'll work from this spot. I won't have to move anymore. Put a BRT down there.
Okay.
You're good to move.
Copy. Start translating your way.
We copy, Nick. You have your BRT. You're in position for AP Alpha release, and we see you making your way up the bridge.
Copy.
And Anne, in case you didn't hear it before, you're not supposed to touch those wheels.
Copy. See him? Okay, coming out above you.
Okay. I see you.
And Nick, so you've seen your safety tether wrapped in between your legs. Anne would like you to take a look, and if there's a snag there, to release it.
Copy.
Just need to point my legs back to the airlock. Let me know.
Okay. It's just wrapped around your left side. It goes between your legs, so if you point your legs back toward the airlock, you should be fine. Yep.
Do that when I reposition my BRT.
And I can stay still if you want to do that now.
Okay. Hold the peak.
Okay. And then a little bit under safer. Turn to your left.
My left?
No, so face your left.
Okay.
I think that's Actually, keep turning to your left.
Okay, keep turning.
Okay, it's free.
Okay, thank you.
It is still between your legs, though.
Okay, pushing my feet out.
Okay, well done, both of you. So with that,
Right, over to the side.
I'll give you those settings.
I'll put down a VO2 first.
Your keys over the red.
Yeah.
And Nick, your settings on the PGT will be Alpha 7, counterclockwise 2.
Alpha 7 counter 2. I've got Alpha 2, Alpha 7 counter 2 set.
Copy Alpha 7, counter 2, those are good settings. You
One
can...
on adapter plate Alpha.
Yes, that's correct. So with one line flush on H1 alpha, you are free to release, and we expect 8 turns.
You copy. Turn. Position's not working for me. Bye.
And Anne and Nick, if in case Anne can reach better than Nick, that's also an option to hand over the PGT to Anne.
I could get a hand on it if you move towards your feet, if that your new position doesn't work.
Okay, let's try this. I'm driving, and it is backing out. Okay, and it's flipping. It's disengaged.
Copy H1 on alpha is disengaged.
On the
And we copy 7.5 turn. You're free to install your hex driver, reposition yourself, install your hex driver on Bravo H1.
Copy. Okay. You get a ret down on this guy first. I've got my BRT ret, actually. And do you want to put it on the handrail at that point? BRT ret.
Let me get over there.
And Nick, did you release Bravo H1? Is that correct?
Negative.
Okay, so we'd like you to go ahead and release. Yeah, Alpha H1 first and Bravo H1 second. Bravo H1 second.
Okay. One line flush, Bravo H1.
Copy, one line flush, Bravo H1. Your go to release H1.
And it's released. Bravo H1, released. 6 turns.
Copy, Bravo H1. Now you can attach your BRT ret to AP Alpha and lock out that ret, leave some slack, and install the hex driver onto AP Alpha H2.
Copy. Put our BRT ret onto P Alpha and release H2.
That is correct.
That is correct.
I have your ret onto the handrail tether point.
I've got same settings, Alpha 7, counterclockwise, 2 hex drivers installed on H2, one line flush.
Copy, same settings, Alpha H2, one line flush. You are go to release, we expect in the order of 19 turns.
Copy, starting. I can do this. Looks like that end is popping up a little.
Yep. Okay, hang on.
Go ahead and lock out.
This is Mission Control Houston, 1 hour 46 minutes into today's spacewalk, the 214th in support of space station assembly and maintenance. Good view of Anne McLean wearing the suit bearing the red stripes at the top, Nick Hague at the bottom, as they use a pistol grip tool to unbolt the first of 3 adapter plates. These adapter plates, 75 pounds apiece, serving as platforms upon which the old nickel hydrogen batteries that are being replaced on the station's P4 truss for its 4A power channel will be mounted permanently. The adapter plate serves 3 purposes: to complete a circuitry for the battery charge discharge unit that stores and then disperses electricity during daylight and dark passes of the Earth for the International Space Station. It also protects the thermal characteristics of the integrated electronics assembly, that basically the power grid for the power channel that the new batteries are being installed for, and as we mentioned, serving as a stowage location for the old nickel hydrogen batteries. 12 of these nickel hydrogen batteries are being replaced by a half-dozen new lithium-ion batteries and associated adapter plates. The external pallet that you're looking at, this is a pallet of equipment that was carried up in a side slot in the H2 transfer vehicle, the Japanese cargo ship that launched from southern Japan back in September to the International Space Station. You see the letters HTV-7 at the top of that pallet. This pallet has been stowed temporarily on a payload attachment device on the truss of the International Space Station, currently in the grip of the station's robotic arm to provide access for the two spacewalkers today. This pallet can only accommodate 9 of the old batteries for disposal, 3 of the old nickel hydrogen batteries to be stowed on adapter plates on the truss of the station for permanent stowage.
Okay, what is it doing now? Unhook that BRT from right there.
The International Space Station is flying from southwest to northeast, just off the eastern coast of Africa, just south of the Saudi Peninsula and the Arabian Sea, on a trajectory that will take the spacecraft and its 6 occupants across Pakistan a short time from now.
Copy, Nick. You have your AP Alpha on your BRT. It's good config.
Not behind me, right?
Yeah, it's one right behind you. That's affirmative, Toma. I've got AP Alpha on my BRT. Ian's going to get into position, then I'll swing it into a good stow position.
Okay, Nick, that sounds good. And with that, your guys' next step is to position for adapter plate Bravo release, and that's going to be for you, Anne. So whenever you're in a good position, you can attach your BRT ret.
I'm just trying to joints screwed away. Get some stuff up. Okay.
And you'll need the BRT for that. So Nick, make sure you're in a position to hand that. The PGT to hand the PGT to Anne for that task.
Copy, and I am BRT ready to receive the PGT. I do have my BRT ret to the AP. I'll go ahead and lock that out. And that's locked out.
Copy. You have that ret locked out on the AP Bravo, and the settings for your PGT are going to be Alpha 7, counterclockwise 2.
And I see Alpha 7, counter 2 is set.
You got to wiggle it a little more to left. There you go. That's one line.
Approaching the 2-hour mark in today's spacewalk by McLean and Haig. A couple of additional questions coming into us on hashtag AskNASA. This one asks, is that a toolbox tethered to the astronauts? It's basically it's called a mini workstation. It is a toolbox of sorts in which the astronauts have a variety of small tools that they can use for a variety of different tasks. They have easy access to that. They also have other tools and bags that are carried around and positioned at the various work sites that they conduct their business at. But the mini workstation that is actually attached to their chest, that is one of the prime locations for some of the tools that are used during any spacewalk. The next question asks, why do the astronauts have mirrors on their gloves? The mirrors on the gloves are designed to provide the astronauts a capability and provide a greater visual acuity to either side as they work and focus.
And Anne, you're go to store that AP Bravo on your BRT.
On Anne's BRT.
Copy, and work.
Somehow remind me to turn that PGT off again after we get this on Anne's BRT.
Will do.
All right. Safety tether out of there.
I'm all wrapped up. There we go. I'm back.
Okay, I got my RT on it. Bells are out. RT is unlocked. An eye on your
Safety
safety tether.
tether just keeps going right through the work spot. Okay, you're free.
Okay, I kind of come over by you a little bit.
Okay. I'll stabilize if I get into this. You bring it around, I'm going to hold my tether up.
Copy.
Okay, and we copy you have the AP Bravo on your BRT. If you guys can make sure it's in a nice stable position, because it tends to flop around quite a bit, usually those APs.
The two spacewalkers for today with one of these adapter plates, the 75-pound adapter plate, upon which one of the old nickel hydrogen batteries will be relocated a short time from now. Nick Hague at the top, and with her visor up for better visibility, and McLean at the bottom, both in their first spacewalk approaching the 2-hour mark.
All right. And I've got that stowed.
Okay, we copy Anne, and Nick, if you haven't done so, you can switch that PGT to off, OFF, and after that you guys are free to translate to P4, and EV1 should lead that translation.
Copy.
Copy.
And Nick, just for us to be sure, you confirm that PGT is off?
PGT is off, OFF, and I'm going to hold position until Anne's across the bridge.
Good words. Thanks for checking.
Yep.
Another view of Anne McLean with one of the adapter plates as she moves to the installation point at the base of the P4 truss of the International Space Station.
I'm on phase one.
Copy, Anne, you're on phase one and heading to P4. And Anne, as you're getting close to the Sarge, would like you to check that your gauntlets are in place.
Copy. Gauntlets are in place.
The view from Anne McLean's helmet camera at the 2-hour mark of today's spacewalk, just a minute shy of that. Here in Mission Control, Spacewalk Officer Jackie Kagi has told Flight Director Mary Lawrence that the crew is running about 40 minutes ahead of the timeline, doing very well, as the two spacewalkers, McLean and Nick Hague, begin to translate back to the integrated electronics assembly at the base of the P4 truss of the station to begin the installation of these adapter plates. Again, the adapter plates carried up to orbit with new lithium-ion batteries on the last Japanese cargo ship, the HTV-7, that was launched to the station back in September. The 75-pound plates serving as a stowage location for the 3 of the old nickel hydrogen batteries, 2 of which will be stowed on these adapter plates today, a third to be stowed on an adapter plate during the second spacewalk a week from today in this battery swap-out pair of extravehicular activities or spacewalks. The adapter plate also serving to complete the circuitry between the battery charge discharge unit and the batteries that are being installed on the electronics assembly, the electronics grid at the base of the solar arrays of the International Space Station.
I'll copy.
And 2.
Sorry, Nick, we didn't copy your last.
2 copies all.
Copy all. And Anne, you can give us a glove and hat check if you're in position.
Okay, I'm in good position. Checking. No changes on my glove, and I have a dry hat.
Copy, good gloves and dry hat. You're go to Egress this APFR on the with 10 P4.
Copy.
And EV1 and 2, we're now in the night. If you guys want, I can give you a heads up for night and day every time for your visor, or I'll leave you up to you.
And I'll take a heads up.
Same here.
And Nick, once you get to your work site, we'll like you to check your gloves and your hat. We're 10 seconds from the LOS, so you'll report back on the other side.
Okay.
Copy.
And then Nick, we're back with you.
Hey, Simon. I'm just getting to the work site.
Copy, Nick. No rush.
And Nick, when you get a chance, if you don't mind double checking my seat, as always are in.
Okay. Position to Sam.
We copy Anne, you're in the APFR, and once Nick has checked on your feet, if you can confirm that the Egress 8 is stowed and the tethers are clear.
Tethers are clear, and the Egress 8 is...
Feels look good, Anne.
All right, thanks, Nick.
Yep.
As Anne McLean, in this view from her helmet camera, prepares to start the work to install the first of the adapter plates in the integrated electronics assembly slots at the base of the P4 truss, we have more questions that are pouring into us here. Hashtag Ask NASA. The first, how long did it take to get up to the space station from launch to arrival on orbit, either on a U.S. launch vehicle or on the Russian Soyuz vehicle? It takes 8 minutes 45 seconds to reach a preliminary orbit, and then it may take either 6 hours or 2 days to actually reach the space station from that point, depending on orbital mechanics and the day that the launch takes place. The next question from a school teacher. My first graders are wondering what is on the astronaut's arm above the mirror. That has to do with a book, basically, of procedures, a small condensed version of procedures, basically the crew's timeline, so that they have easy access to keep tabs of where they are in all of the work they're conducting on orbit from minute to minute in concert with instructions that are being relayed to them from Mission Control in Houston. So it's basically a playbook, if you will, for the spacewalk. And finally, for this series, what is the job of the other crew members inside the station during the EVA, or extravehicular activity? The other USOS, or U.S. Orbital Segment crew members, David St. Jacques of the Canadian Space Agency and NASA flight engineer Christina Cook, they are monitoring the spacewalk, capturing photography, and keeping tabs on the astronauts' safety outside in case, for some unexpected reason, they would have to return to the station at a moment's notice. Everything, of course, going extremely well here as we've passed the 2-hour mark into today's excursion. The Russian cosmonauts on board the station commander Oleg Kononenko and his cosmonaut crewmate Alexei Ovchinin, who arrived on the station last week, are actually preparing for the arrival of a Russian cargo ship called the Progress, in this case the 72 Progress cargo ship, in 2 weeks. That is scheduled to launch from the Baikonur Cosmodrome on a fast-track 2-orbit rendezvous to reach the station to deliver 3.5 tons of food, fuel, and supplies.
Copy, Anne, you're ready to the AP. You can verify that the AP blind mate connectors are oriented ISS outboard. And once that is done, you can soft dock this AP Alpha to slot 6 and lock out your RETs, leaving slack.
Okay.